All right. I'd like to call to order the Proctor City Council meeting for Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll do a roll call at this time. Councilor Benson.
Present.
Councilor Roeder.
Present.
Councilor Johnson.
Here.
Councilor DeWall.
Present.
Mayor Ward is also in attendance, and let the minutes reflect we have Megan Jordan, Attorney Bray, and Administrator Rich also on. Looking for a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Monday, January 4th, 2021.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Roeder. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say, or we got to do a roll call vote. So Administrator Rich, could we do a roll call vote, please?
Councilor Benson.
Benson, yes.
Councilor Roeder.
Yes.
Councilor DeWall.
Yes.
Councilor Johnson.
Yes.
And Mayor Ward.
Yes. Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
We're gonna go get our food tomorrow.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Councilor DeWall made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion?
Were you gonna,
Go ahead, Councilor.
were you gonna change the agenda with the, take that item off? Or?
Yep, I'm going to remove under the closed session per Minnesota State Statute 13D closed meeting, the employee contract. We will not be going into closed session tonight.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We'll do a roll call on that, Mayor.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Training. Councilor Benson.
Benson, yes.
Councilor Roeder.
Yes.
Councilor DeWall.
Yes.
Councilor Johnson.
Yes.
Mayor Ward.
Yes. I hope I get that by the end of the meeting. At this time, we'll take comments and suggestions from the citizens present. Due to COVID-19, we are doing this meeting via YouTube on track 7. And with some COVID outbreaks, the council is not in chambers tonight, but Administrator Rich is. So the call-in number, if you have any comments or suggestions, is 218-628-6289. And we'll give that a few minutes for anyone to call in. This time we'll move on since we're hearing none. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Councilor Johnson made a motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Administrator Rich, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Councilor Benson.
Yes.
Councilor Roeder.
Yes.
Councilor DeWall.
Yes.
Councilor Johnson.
Yep.
Mayor Ward.
Yes. And that will bring us to 6A, new business, annual transfer funds. Administrator Rich.
These transfers were presented to me from our finance director, Leslie Brunfelt. I understand these are annual transfers that are done at the end of the year and beginning of the year, and she's asking for approval on these.
So you heard the recommendation to approve the transfer of funds. Is there a motion to do so?
I'll make that motion.
Make a motion.
Counselor
I'll
Rowe made the
second
motion.
that.
Is there a second?
Support.
Counselor Benson supports. Counselor DeWall, I'm not sure if we can hear you or not. So Counselor Reuter made the motion. Counselor Benson supports it. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
I'll do a roll call. on
Roll
that.
call.
Counselor Benson,
Yes.
Counselor Rowe,
Yes.
Counselor DeWall,
Yes.
Counselor Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Ward.
Yes. Motion passes. That'll bring us to 6B, update social media policy. In your packet, you had a proposal social media policy and an existing social media policy. We're just looking for a motion to approve the proposed new social media policy.
I'll make that. Go ahead, Rory.
Counselor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Counselor Reuter seconds it. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Benson.
so is this a new policy or an updated policy?
I would answer that this is an updated policy.
Is there any changes to this policy?
You have the existing one in your packet. So I would say overall, other than some changes to wording, no, the spirit of the policy has not changed.
The spirit of the policy. Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. We'll do a roll call vote. Administrator Rich,
Counselor Benson,
Yes.
Counselor Rowe,
Yes.
Counselor DeWall,
Yes.
Counselor Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Ward.
yes. And motion passes. Bring us to 6C, sexual harassment prevention policy. Again, we have a sexual harassment prevention policy in our packet, and we're just looking for a motion to approve the updated sexual harassment prevention policy. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, Administrator Rich.
Counselor Benson,
Yes.
Counselor Rowe,
Yes.
Counselor DeWall,
Yes.
Counselor Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Ward.
Yes. Motion passes. That'll bring us to 6D, respectful workplace policy. In your packet, you have an updated respectful workplace policy. This also includes sexual harassment prevention, but we're looking for a motion to accept the newly updated respectful workplace policy.
So move.
Counselor Johnson made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Benson. Any further discussion?
The underlined,
Oh,
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor
the
Benson.
underlined stuff is new. Nothing was crossed out.
No, the underlined stuff is headings. They're not necessarily indicating new wording.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Counselor DeWall.
In the future, if we get these when we already have a policy in place, I think it would be easier for members of the council to go through them just like we do the contract, underline and read any changes. Because it gets a little confusing when you're looking at them on a computer, at least for me it did. So in the future, if we get these and we already have established policies, but we're updating them, I'd like to see the red line approach.
I would too. Yes.
Rick can do that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Administrator Rich?
Counselor Benson,
Yes.
Counselor Roweeder,
Yes.
Counselor DeWald,
Yes.
Counselor Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Ward.
Yes. Motion passes. It'll bring us to 6E, computer use policy. Again, in your packet, we had an existing policy and a newly updated computer use policy, and we're looking for a motion to approve the newly updated policy.
I'll make that motion.
Counselor Roeder made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? I would like to just say thanks to city staff, Sally, Jess, and Administrator Rich, and whoever else helped work on these, but they did a nice job and I appreciate it. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Administrator Rich, could we perform a roll call vote?
Yes. Counselor Benson,
Yes.
Counselor Roweeder,
Yes.
Counselor DeWald,
Yes.
Counselor Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Ward.
Motion passes. That'll bring us to 6F. Ordinance 01-21, repealing ordinance 03-19, first reading. So in your packet, we had an ordinance that we're looking to repeal regarding some annexed property within the city of Proctor along Highway 2. We're looking to repeal this ordinance because it was done back in 2019 and it'd just be easier to move forward with a whole new ordinance. So we're just, with being at the first reading, I don't think we need a motion on this, Attorney Bray. We can just,
No, we do not.
thank you. So is there any discussion on the first reading of ordinance 01-21? Hearing none, we'll move on. 6G, legislative agenda. Counselor Benson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Council. In your packet, it's a request to submit a bill, legislative bill, relating to the sales and use tax on construction materials for the salt and sand shed. We've laid out the background and a summary and some proposed text. This is something a lot of communities do. And it is something that the city of Proctor did actually probably 20 years ago this month. And 20 years ago, come March, Jim and myself went down to the House to testify to get that exemption on the construction of City Hall. So even though it may not be physically built, I think it's something that is prudent to do now, just so we could start the process and get it on the legislative agenda. I'm not exactly sure how much money it would save the city, but I would imagine it would be considerable.
Thank you, Counselor Benson. So we're looking for a motion to submit a legislative bill for an act relating to taxation, sales, and uses, providing a refundable construction exemption for sales taxes for a salt and sand shed in the city of Proctor.
I'll make that motion, and I do want to add that, you know, in the packet, Administrator Rich also was kind enough to put in some Minnesota Department of Revenue information for additional information on what we're hopefully going to be voting on.
You heard Counselor Benson made a motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any discussion?
Have we talked at
Counselor
all with,
Benson,
oh,
I'm sorry,
okay.
go ahead, Counselor Roeder.
I was just gonna say, have we talked at all with any of our legislators about, if there's any chance with this going through? Normally when we're gonna submit a bill like that, usually we at least run it by Mary Murphy or somebody to say, do you think this is something that's worth having our administrator work on? If it's got a good chance, then I'd say let's go for it. But I'm in favor of it. I think we should at least try to get something.
And I think if it does pass, it would, Ms. Mayor, if I might, if it does pass, it would go to Representative Murphy and Senator Bach. And the reason why it's on our agenda is House File 65 has a number of other cities requesting the exact same thing for various projects in their communities. And I thought, since they did their safety in numbers, and we could just hopefully add an amendment to that bill.
Well, and that was going to be my question, Counselor Benson. House File 65 was read for the first time on January 11th. Are we submitting this too late now, or can we still submit it to that House File 65?
I think we have until sometime in March to submit bills. That's when the deadline is. So and it's always best to do it early. Once we pass this, we'll send it off to Representative Murphy, Senator Bach. If they see any sort of anomalies, they'll send it back, and at least we'll have time to make any sort of changes. But this is a pretty straightforward request that virtually everybody does if they have a community project.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, Administrator Rich.
Counselor Benson,
Benson, yes.
Counselor Roweeder,
Yes.
Counselor DeWall,
Yes.
Counselor Johnson.
Yeah.
Is that a yes? We had a hard time hearing you.
Yes.
We had a hard time.
I lost you guys for a second and now I'm back on, so.
Mayor Ward,
Yes. Motion passes. That'll bring us to members' concerns.
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Benson.
I do have just a few other legislative updates, if you care.
Is this for members' concerns, or?
No, that would be under the legislative agenda
So we're still on
under 6G.
6G? Okay. My
And-
apologies, Counselor Benson. Proceed.
No, I did not make it very clear. So there are a number of other House bills that have been introduced, and I don't know if the city wants to put it on their legislative agenda and have anything to say or just let it fly. But, House File 105 is a bill relating to cities authorizing, they're able to create a land value taxation district. And I'm not exactly sure what that is or how it would affect Proctor, but that was just introduced last week. House File 102, that relates to local government aid, making some modifications for public safety. And House File 52 is an act relating to open meeting laws, which I don't think really affects us that much, having to do with COVID and having meetings like this electronically. And then there's House File 27, which modifies hours for the sale of liquor on Sunday, which could have an impact on our police department. So that's just a kind of quick legislative update.
Thank you. And I think all of them would be worthwhile to look at and see what they entail.
And I could put together some additional information for our next meeting.
Thank you, Counselor. Would that be all for 6G, Counselor Benson?
Yes, sir.
All right. Move on to members' concerns, and we'll be back at you, Counselor Benson.
Thank you very much. I certainly don't want you to break the record for having the shortest meeting, so I'll try to lengthen this out. The League of Minnesota Cities started their Elected Officials Institute this week. It goes for 6 weeks. And it's a pretty light agenda. You know, there's like this week, there's 3 items. It's at your own speed. One's 10 minutes, the other one's 15, and another one's 20. Certainly worthwhile. And I hopefully, if anybody wanted to attend, they certainly could bring it forth and we could approve that. The other thing is that last week, the city transportation plan had their open house. There's a brief video that they have, and that's on, I don't know if it's on the city website yet, but it's on proctorjournal.com. Pretty interesting, tells kind of in a capsulated version what that 10-year plan hopes to accomplish, you know, streets, bike lanes, sidewalks. And I think they're looking at one more public open house just to get some additional citizen input, probably later this month or early February before they bring it to the city council and make their presentation for our adoption. But it's certainly worthwhile to look at and needed. From what I understand from Bolt and Meek, the people putting together the proposal, there's well over 130 people who are following the Proctor transportation plan. And there was 2 sessions. I was in at the noon session, and you know, a lot of good questions, good presentation. And I think it's helpful that the city of Duluth, MnDOT, St. Louis County, Metropolitan Interstate Council, and the DTA is somehow all involved with this. So I'm looking for an exciting 10 years as far as transportation in Proctor goes, with trails and sidewalks. And that's it.
Bring us to Counselor DeWall.
I have nothing at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Johnson.
Just one thing I've been thinking about, and I talked to Rick Lalonde down at the maintenance garage about. I want us to think about this now ahead of time so that we're not scrambling when it comes for spring cleanup. What are we going to do? Are we going to leave that fairgrounds area opened and have people dumping garbage up there? Or one of the ideas that Rick actually thought about was, could we take the land that Terry Carroll was leasing for us and use that land for the dump? And there's a gate there where we can close it off. So I want us as counselors and mayor and city administrator to think about what are we going to do here in the spring for spring cleanup.
That's all I have.
I like the ideas. Thank you, Counselor Johnson. Counselor Roeder.
I have no concerns to voice at this time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm in the same boat. I was going to hit on the transportation steering committee public forum, but Counselor Benson did a fine job at that already. So we'll pass it to Administrator Rich.
I'm with you, Counselor Benson. We're not going to make a record on this one. I'm just going to give a report on some things that I've been working on Getting back to the transportation plan, I did attend the TAC meeting today, and that plan was approved by the TAC members. So yes, from there it'll go forward. And I just have to say that I so appreciate that plan coming in at the beginning of the plan. I know I wasn't here for the planning process, but it's going to be a very helpful tool for me to move forward in finding funding and coordinating projects. I already started some coordinating with the county on the 2nd Street project. So thank you for doing that plan. It's going to be helpful. Have a monthly meeting with SEH tomorrow. We're going to take Megan and I and Rick will take some agenda items up with them, getting some stuff cleaned up. The cleaning company has started at City Hall. Spent several hours today with the deep clean and will continue on throughout the building. Of course, spent quite a bit of time on that annexation with Department of Administrative Hearings, and just again, we decided to scrap the old ordinance, start with the new, and we're working on property descriptions. In the future, when we do annexations, we can run these property descriptions by them before we pass the ordinances, and it'll save a lot of steps in getting those property descriptions. Have to be pretty precise when they approve annexations. Megan has taken on the task of the CAF reporting, and that is reporting to WLLSD when we do any new sewer connections or a change in use from current sewer connections. So she has got us completely up to date on the CAF reporting, just in time for our annual meeting with WLSSD on our I&I and our sewer use. So thank you to her for doing that. And we've changed the processes where we're going to be collecting those CAF fees right at the point of sale for the building permits. So we're cleaning that process up. I am very close to getting letters of understandings from all of the bargaining units and employees on the health and welfare changes. I will be hopefully be presenting those to you at the next council meeting. And we continue to work on exploring sand and salt shed locations and making some headway there as well. Not necessarily concerns, but just a report.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you to Megan on that as well. Attorney Bray.
Nothing from me.
Nothing from you. All right. That'll bring us to bills for approval. Looking for a motion to pay the bills.
So move.
Councillor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Support.
Councillor DeWall supports that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, Administrator Rich.
Councillor Benson. Councillor Roweeder.
Yes.
Councillor DeWall.
Yes.
Councillor Johnson.
Yes.
Mayor Ward.
Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councillor Roweeder made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Administrator Rich, roll call vote, please.
Councillor Benson. Councillor Roweeder.
Yes.
Councillor DeWall.
Yes.
Councillor Johnson.
Yes.
Mayor Ward.
Yes. That'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming.